Hello, history enthusiasts. Today we're embarking on an unforgettable journey into the heart of the Maya world. From hidden underground cenotes to soaring temple summits, we'll trace ancient rituals, wander through shadowed tunnels, and stand beneath star maps etched in stone. I'd love to hear from you. What did you find most fascinating in this exploration? Where are you tuning in from today? Your thoughts and feedback mean a great deal to me. If you enjoyed the video, please take a moment to leave a like and subscribe. You'll help me continue bringing these stories to life. Now, let's step together into the mysteries of the Maya and uncover the secrets they left behind. Enjoy the adventure. As the darkness of night envelops your entire body, a subtle dampness echoes behind your eyelids, which you thought had closed just moments ago. You feel a slight vibration, as if a drop of water has touched your cheek. Take a slow, deep breath. Fill your lungs, then exhale slowly. Now, before burying your head in the sheets, listen for a moment. The distant hooting of an owl, the rustling of a leaf, the symphony of night insects, and then, deep within, a faint but steady tapping. Like an invitation to a ritual, this is the voice calling you. When you open your eyes, you find yourself at the edge of a damp forest canopy. A curtain of fog prevents you from seeing more than 100 meters around you. Your vision is blurry, and you feel as if you are in a dream. But you can feel the weight of your body and the warm sweat on your skin. The warmth squeezing your chest is the weight of the air filtering through the tops of the giant trees, which have not yet awakened to the morning. You stand up. There is no hard rock to lean against, only moss and a blanket of decaying leaves spread across the ground. Your toes are bare and washed with soil. With each step, the sandy, muddy ground beneath you gently gives way. The tracks your feet leave are quickly filled by mist, fading like the traces of a passing dream. The air carries the gloomy scent of morning, rotting wood, fresh earth, and the sweet kiss of flowers about to bloom. You hear a rustling sound following your footsteps. You turn around, but there is only mist and plants. It is as if you are looking through curtains that are exchanging shadows. Your heartbeat quickens, but there is no panic. You must savor this feeling, because what you will experience from now on will show you how far you are from all the comforts of the modern world. You feel a slight excitement inside, to survive, to understand, to get acquainted with the water, mud, and blood of these lands. Suddenly, the horizon trembles slightly, and a black silhouette appears. A hemispherical structure with steps made of stone blocks that seem to be woven together without a foundation. An untouched pyramid. The sun has not yet risen, but the misty veil has warmed up to the top of the pyramid, illuminating it with a hazy golden glow. It's as if the door to a place of worship has opened, inviting you into a sacred space. As you move forward through the mist, the echo of your footsteps rings out on the walls of the pyramid like a welcoming bell. The walls are adorned with carved figures, huge eyes, sharp teeth, curled snakes. Each carving tells a different stage of the ritual. As you advance step by step, you remain in the moment. Your breathing, your heartbeat, your sweat droplets form a prayer-like sound. When you reach the base of the pyramid, you come across a wide platform. The water jug and a tube made of corn flour that you carry with you are your only sources of food. In the center of the platform, there is a huge circle drawn on the ground. Around it are simple wreaths woven from carnation flowers. This is where the first ritual must be performed. The prayer is not a simple wish, but the price of survival. You place your feet on the edge of the circle, take a small handful of soil with one hand, and pour drops of water from the container onto the ground with the other. each drop of water returns to your mouth. For life and mud are one. In the presence of invisible eyes watching you, you whisper silently, "Protect me. Do not test me. Let me live today." When the ritual is over, you hear a hum spreading through the air like a wave. A trembling energy rises in your chest. The fog suddenly clears, and a ceiba tree with a thick trunk as tall as a cypress appears before you. For the Maya people, it is the backbone of the universe, the sacred tree that connects the earth to the sky. Its roots extend into the underworld. Its branches reach toward the sky. You turn toward the tree's shadow and gently touch its trunk. The thudding sound that blends with the rhythm of your heart seems to create an echoing bridge between you and the tree. As you seek shelter in the shade, a light rain begins to fall. The delicate droplets of water hitting the tree trunk create a sweet melody that fills the air. You gently rub the soil in your hand and spread it on your temples, pressing the wet cornmeal dough into the ground. You feel like a primitive being created by the gods from mud. Moment by moment, you melt into nature, into the stone structure of the ritual. The rain intensifies, and the droplets soon break down the cornmeal in your hands into a thin, slippery paste. As you place the dough into the small mound before your eyes, you feel a deep calm and a chill in your soul. The sacred rainwater, the blood of the earth, the essence of corn, all intertwined. The crumbling corn dough becomes a part of your body. Then you hear a cry in the distance, a human voice, but also a simple cry of pain. You quicken your pace, and as you walk along the misty path, a semi-transparent shadow appears. There, crouched on the ground, perhaps dissolved on its own, is a human figure. Hands bound behind its back, face covered in mud. A sweaty, torn corn husk cloak hangs from its shoulders, transforming it into a half-naked being. Its eyes are closed, its arms struggling to break free. Suddenly, your breath catches. Are you witnessing the next stage of the ritual? You bow your head calmly and raise the thin obsidian knife you have taken from your bag. Its edge, as black as glass, glows in the rainlight. You touch the carved face with your finger and trace the thin line beneath the eye to leave a mark. Your task is not to sacrifice the victim, but to sanctify this place, to leave a mark in the name of the mud, the water, the stone. As your heartbeat warms your face, you hear a rhythmic song whispering, "Power with your soul, earth with your name, corn with your body." And at that very moment, the mist once again envelops the entire scene. The rain stops, and the forest is engulfed in a silence awaiting its cry. You find yourself in the evening of this first day, surrounded by bodies, rituals, and gods. As your eyes close, the final echoes of the prayer resonate in your mind. You don't even remember exactly where you are, but one thing is certain. The comforts of this world are quietly fading away with the night, and the next morning, you will hear the call to wake up again, to feed the green and bloody heart of the ritual once more. Now take a deep breath, relax your muscles, close your eyes, relax completely, because in the next chapter, you will walk along the Mayan trails, discover their sacred cities, and face the unexpected trials of the gods. But first, let yourself fall asleep. Let the shadows accompany you. Before the mist has cleared, you retreat from the steps of the pyramid. The stone surfaces still retain the heat of the midday sun. Your feet are bare, and traces of earth and cornflour rising from the cracks at the edge of the steps stick to your skin. Take a deep breath. This is not the foothills of Calakmul, but the second largest city in the heart of the Maya. Tikal. As you walk toward the great plaza, you take shelter in the shadow of the massive Acropolis, losing yourself among the dusty silhouettes of stone temples. First, notice the small pools of water gushing from cracks in the ground. Rainwater trapped between stone blocks, a habitat for tiny mosquito larvae. As you pass by the shore, you touch the bamboo railings. The ropes made of goat horn tree are still intact, but your load is heavy. The water bag in your backpack, the cornflower bag, your obsidian knife, and the ceramic bowl covered in mud that you have saved for the ritual. Even the dried meat you've brought along turns into a cloud of salt, mingling with the scorching sweat of the hot air. The first structure rising before you is Acropolis A, stretching north of the plaza. The reliefs on its body become clearer as you approach, a river god flowing from the mouth of a giant crocodile, feathered snakes, a priest figure sacrificing humans. Each relief seems to ask, "What courage brought you here?" The thin layers of dust between the curves seem like the unbroken echoes of prayers that once filled this place. When you touch the cold surface of the wall, you feel the weight of centuries. A small crack at the center of the ring is the clearest evidence of the union of earth and time. As you wander around the plaza, a metallic hum reaches your ears, the large stone heel steely behind you, defeated by decaying vegetation, but still standing. On the stele is a portrait of a ruler. On his head, a primitive diadem made of eagle feathers. On his chest, a motif of a tiger's claw. It seems as if it is still shouting victory cries. Tiny, bright blue mushrooms have sprouted among the moss clusters surrounding the stele. Imagine taking a step and seeing tiny spores rising from the mushrooms. Your breath catches in your throat, because this could be a deadly mushroom. A little further on, a passageway opens onto the plaza floor. Thin stone steps lead down into the ground. Descending here is a risky step in Mayan beliefs, the gates of the underworld, Xibalba, perhaps an invitation to dive deeper into the second day of the ritual. Your feet feel heavy, and with every step, the contents of your bag respond, a tangible weight, weaving the chains of a nightmare around your shoulders. Perhaps you should light a candle, but you have none. You consider fastening your obsidian knife to your waist and pulling out the green quartz piece dangling from your belt as a flashlight. Your breath turns into a cloud of smoke in this cold tunnel. The dampness seeping from the walls sends a chill down your fingertips. The earth seeping through small cracks points to the thin line between life and death. The quartz, shining like a petrified evil eye, reminds you of a symbol of a passage between worlds. Every time you look down and choose a step, your foot feels as if it might slip. Still, your resolve is strong. Each step feels like a sacred act, carrying the sacred knowledge of Maya craftsmanship on your shoulders. As you approach the end of the tunnel, the floor resembles a slightly lower gallery. Symmetrical reliefs cover both sides of a narrow corridor. Beneath each relief, several human figures are bent over with their hands tied behind their backs. The reliefs proclaim that they have all been chosen as sacrifices. Feather-plumed priests point to the places where new blood will soon spurt forth. An involuntary shiver rises within you, not only the desire to explore the limits of human existence, but also a fear that has shattered your sense of security. At the end of the corridor is a relatively small room. The floor is flat, and the walls are divided by small niches hidden between columns. In each niche lies a small obsidian knife, a pair of bone fragments, and countless tiny bowls whose number has been forgotten. When you pick one up, you feel an eerie silence. The bone is strikingly cold. Suddenly, You bite the trembling edge. How sharp, how deadly even a human bone fragment can be. In one of the ceramic bowls standing in the niches at the base of the walls, there is a residue of a grayish-blue paste. Upon closer inspection, you realize that this earthen mixture emits a sharp odor. As you examine the scent, you detect the faintly bitter taste of ancient Maya paint mixed with corn and sweat. And for a moment, your vision blurs, like a pus-filled dream. This paste was used in a ritual to sanctify the body. The plants it contains were believed in Maya medicine to induce sleep as a remedy for headaches. As soon as you touch the paste, it's as if the echo of a tremor you've just experienced is vibrating in your heart. You decide to leave the room. Water droplets dripping from the high ceilings form tiny pools glistening on the stone floor. Each drop is a sign of 1,000 years of waiting. Your steps lead you back to the plaza floor, to a shaded area covered in straw. Here, dozens of Maya families sit patiently, women grinding cornmeal in mortars, children rocking stone cradles. A few men gather around a priest preparing a young ritual, holding incense and raising small rings of smoke. It is a fairly tranquil scene, but the expressions on their faces betray the tension of survival. In every home, in every family, death and ritual exist simultaneously. Your arrival causes a slight, uncomfortable stillness. One of the women puts down the stone mortar in her hand and looks at you. As your eyes meet, you receive a silent nod. Approach. The elder of the family points to the medicinal herbs spread out in the shade, indicating that you should gather them. These herbs were used to transport the Maya mind into the dream realm. A slight heaviness settles on your heart, which has been full, awake, and fearful all day. Soon, the tea you will prepare from these herbs will make you feel its weight. You don't yet know whether it will be harder to fall asleep or to survive the ritual. You reach inside and take the dried green leaves in your palm. Uncurled, their hard edges prick your fingers. You take a bite, a slight tannin, a harsh bitterness in your mouth. When you inhale its scent, your breath catches. The plant that calls to the thin line where death and dreams intersect for the Maya people has stirred your emotions. You will take a sip of water to make tea, but this water is no ordinary water. It is the sacred water you brought from the base of the pyramid. Every sip will call your subconscious to the surface. Without hesitation, you turn to the small, boat-shaped block carved in the corner. The intricate patterns resemble a fine wire mesh, adorned with seashells. A few branches of those leaves are placed inside the boat, 4 in the sacred count: water, earth, air, fire. But in Maya culture, the 5th element is the soul itself. You are inviting your soul to join you. As your eyes wait for the tea to steep, you think about how understanding the Maya requires such hard work. Every step, every leaf you chew, every drop of sweat carries the wisdom of thousands of years beyond words. As the night grows late, you will find yourself swept up in these actions, on the edge of a dream. And perhaps in the next chapter, you will discover watchtowers rising from the shadows of the Maya, searching for an escape route from the royal tombs. You opened your left eye before the last drop of rain fell on the leaves on the ground. Daylight still does not filter through. The stone walls of your underground gallery are cold and damp. The sacred tea in the small ceramic cup you carry with you is now ready. Your hand trembles as you lean forward to take a sip. With the first sip, the bitterness of the plant extracts lingers on your tongue, penetrating your nerves, and a heaviness settles in the center of your chest. It feels as though not a thin veil of sleep, but a thick cloud of smoke has descended upon your consciousness. You slowly straighten up and look up again. At the end of the corridor, where there is no candlelight, you see a glimmer of light that is dim but vividly colored. A feather motif reflected on the wall that you had not noticed before in the long passageway. As the faint light of your green quartz lantern turns, the glimmer of the serpent-like creature moves. It seemed as though the shadow of Kukulkan, the Maya feathered serpent god, was watching you. With every step, you thought you heard the faint rustling of its feathers. Turning your head away from the dark corridor, you were certain you were not alone. Behind you, something was scraping against the outer surface of your corn flour sack, which had sunk slightly into the earthen floor and was now rubbing against a protrusion, a small, slippery, unknown creature. You drew your obsidian knife, its handle carved with deep patterns, and leaned it against the wall, slowly summoning the bellows. The quartz light, confined to a narrow circle, cut through the darkness behind you. Your nerves, as sharp as steel, followed the rapid beating of your heart, which seemed to shatter your eardrums. When you turned around, a semi-transparent silhouette appeared at the end of the corridor, a human-sized figure, bent over, shaking its head toward the ground. Its movement made it impossible to tell whether it was alive or dead. Its arms, mixed with mist, reached down to its knees. You paused for a second, frozen. This was the first time on this journey that you had forgotten to breathe. Then a voice, "Ah, ah, ah," the gasping, wounded moan of a ghost. You listened to it here, in the depths of the underground, frozen like a nail in this shifting stone tunnel. It was proof that there was another being besides yourself. But this proof wanted to bury your survival instinct in the darkness. Your mission suddenly became clear: to stay here and face the essence of this different world. You walked over to the ceramic boat you had brought for the ritual, poured 3 sips of sacred tea into it, then rubbed a handful of cornflour on your lips and left a simple mark on the ground. Each movement completed one of the Maya gods' coded rituals. Perhaps it was the key to escape or salvation. You placed the vessel on the ground. The reliefs on the bottom trembled as if they once bore the names of those who had died here. You carefully lifted the lidless ceramic piece, counted the tea inside 3 times. 1, to the shadow of the corridor. 2, to the ground. 3, back to the sky. As the drops of tea fell onto the stone floor, each echoed like a faint explosion. Mud, water, earth, blood, all traced a map of laurel leaves trapped underground. And at that moment, a wind rose from the walls. It must have been the breath of Huracan, known as the wind god in traditional Maya paintings. A hand reached out from the mist. It was a human hand, but with soft bone cores, vein-like lines, and a skeleton that suddenly spread before your eyes. Without hesitation, you left your hand in the air. You wanted to touch the fingertips, or was this another being? It touched you as if to say, "It's you," but it wasn't cold. The connection was familiar, yet utterly foreign. Your heart pounded against your chest, and you stepped back instinctively. Your obsidian knife fell from your bag and clattered to the floor, blending into the corridor's darkness. Your light flickered, and the shadows went wild. For a moment, everything was enveloped in a vine-like web. Then the mist cleared, and a long passageway stretched before you. The reliefs on the walls moved, telling you to go back. Or should you go forward, complete the ritual, or disappear? You took a step forward, defying the stillness. The damp stone beneath your feet slips as it prepares for the next mold. One moment you walk forward, the next you are thrown back. Inside you, there is the bittersweet aroma of what the Maya describe as the smell of the underworld, freshly rotting plants, half-living bodies, endless incantations. Your steps grow heavier, your mind grows hazy. A faint ringing sound echoes in your ears. Perhaps it is the reflection of light bouncing off the raised patterns, or perhaps it is a divine drumbeat, the drum of the ritual. The gods of tradition knock on the rusted doors of your being, one by one. Which one will you open? And at that moment, at the end of the corridor, you step into a wide space, following a short curve. The ceiling, dripping with water that soaks the ground below, makes your fingers tremble. In the middle of the room stands a worn altar, a human-sized, finely carved stone table. There are dried bloodstains on it and obsidian carvings around it. It seems to say, "O living one, show your courage." You cannot take your eyes off the ancient inscriptions on the altar. Some of the Mayan hieroglyphs are still legible. Kananchaj, new birth. The symbols next to them are feather motifs representing the birth of the soul. Here, you have discovered the next stop in the ritual lying on the ground, a rebirth. But into what fate? Will you be the child of mud or the blood carrier? As everything trembles, each blow of a silver sledgehammer pains your chest. When you feel your hands trembling, you suddenly realize the edge of the ceramic vessel you're leaning toward, where mud and blood mix, is close enough to make the peaks ring in your ears. The power you've gained awaits the answer you'll give in the next step. For a moment, you hesitate. Will you abandon the criteria of being human to survive, or will you remain human at the heart of the ritual? The altar before you and the raw smoke patterns filling the room were your only real connection to the Maya gods. If you chose to return, your decision in this moment would shatter your entire mold, break the chains of the ritual, and consign you to eternal darkness. If you chose to move forward, you would answer the whispering call of dew with every step, and perhaps rise again in the next chapter, in a world bathed in sunlight. Now, take a deep breath. Everything is hidden in your choice. As you rose from the mist-shrouded corridor, the moonlight seemed to shine on you one last time, and then the square in front of you suddenly opened up, the great plaza of Tikal in all its glory. The steps of the 5-story pyramid, too, rising from among the roots of trees thousands of years old, became clear as the mist receded. Each stone step waited, ready to carry the first rays of the sun. The ground beneath your feet was damp and ready to give way, but your will was too strong to yield. Pause for a moment and take a deep breath. The air around you feels scorching after the cold underground tunnels. The humidity is over 90%, and sweat beads on the edges of your eyelids. The taste of earth on your lips, the bitter residue of sacred tea still clinging to your fingertips. Yet you will press on, for the ritual has brought you here. The Great Plaza is not merely a collection of stone structures, but a living exhibition filled with the footprints, prayers, cries, and feathered rituals of thousands of Maya. In front of you, there are 4 smaller structures lined up along the edges of the stone path leading to the wide platform at the base of the pyramid. These represent the 4 cardinal directions: the Temple of the North Star in the north, the Temple of the Wind in the east, the Temple of the Rain in the south, and the Temple of the Sun in the west. However, your attention is particularly drawn to the 3rd pyramid, the massive shadow in the middle row. This is known as the Sky Temple and holds the ritual's highest point. Slowly, as the last wisps of mist dissipate, you approach the stairs. The moment your foot touches the stone step, an echo rises, the same sound as the fingerprints of your guides on the stone blocks. You touch the carved reliefs along the edge of the stairs with your fingertips, snakes, jaguar claws, and stylized sun motifs. Your gaze is drawn to one relief, a figure of a child with bound hands, a trace of red paint under his chin. The expression on the child's face reflects both fear and surrender. At that moment, your heart skips a beat. The next ceremony would mean the rise of a new sacrifice. As you climb the first step, the plaza's floor shrinks before your eyes. It's not the feeling of the ground giving way beneath you, but the solidity of each stone, resisting the weight of millions of feet, that inspires confidence. The second step, the third. The humidity in the air constricts your airways, making your heart race. Like a rival you've underestimated, each step challenges you. Your lips are dry. You want to reach for the small bag of water in your pocket, but you remember that you must save it for the ritual. You must complete the dance of the sacrificial ceremony, woven with water, mud, and blood. When you reach the fifth step, the edge of the area swept by the pyramid's shadow comes to an end. The first rays of the sun strike from the east, bright enough to cast a golden halo around you. A shiver runs down your arms, a lightness on your back. The complex feeling of emerging from the tunnel and standing before this massive structure. You look down. Poor monkey paw prints, rope marks made from goat horn fibers, perhaps the precursors of the steps that brought you here, or will bring you here. All of this points to the next stage in the ritual. The sixth step, the seventh. Your breath is exhausted. You think about throwing a shoulder bag forward, unfurling the camp rope, covering your sweaty head with a leaf. But stop. This is a ceremonial site, a place reached only through self-sacrifice. Now tighten the straps of the bag on your shoulder and walk toward the key part of the ritual. On the upper plateau, there is a 5-armed niche surrounded by stones. There, in Mayan cosmology, it is known as the world tree. Its branches define the 4 directions, its roots the underworld. And at the top, a sacred fire should be burning, fueled by a stick covered in incense. The 8th step, your entire weight on your chest. You do this because there is no other way. Slowly remove the bag of corn flour from your hands and pour it onto the ground. Dig a small hole in the sand and scatter corn kernels onto the earth, each kernel like a note woven into the prayers of the Maya people. As you scatter the kernels, each one may turn into a small disappointment, but it is a sacred offering for the ritual. When you raise your head, your eyes lock onto the temple across the plaza. There, standing in the center of the shadow, the high priest wears a bronze mask and holds an obsidian sistrum, the bells ringing, setting the rhythm of the ceremony in the darkness. The 9th step. The 10th. Your face burns like a ball of fire. You imagine a sip of water, but you've been careful to preserve it. At the same time, you taste salt on your lips, both your own sweat and the remnants of the sacred tea. The grains you've scattered on the ground grow heavier with water droplets, and a voice whispers inside you, "Find balance. Be both guilty and innocent, both alive and dead." On the 11th step, your eyes dart around the plaza. There is no crowd. Everyone knows about the underground. And if you are the only one left outside, you will complete the ceremony. On the 12th step, you close your eyes for a moment as the sun hits your face. You feel sorry for yourself, half mad, half sacred, drunk. And at that moment, you hear a new sound in your heart. Pride, fear, and divine silence all at once. The 13th step. You are now gasping for breath, but you remain standing. Your courage will reveal one of the ancient secrets of the Maya. On the 14th step, You realize that only a few small steps remain to reach the summit. You have completed the 4 directions of the 4-armed world tree. Now it is time to nourish the 5th direction, yourself. The rhythm of the obsidian sistrum whispers in your ears, urging you to take the final 14th step. On the 15th step, as your feet touch the pyramid's top platform, the shadow area opens up like a giant. Your eyes gaze toward the horizon. Forests bathed in a pinkish-orange light. Flocks of birds gliding above layers of mist, and the sharp silhouette of Temple 4 in the farthest distance. You straighten your shoulders. One more step, the final stage of the ceremony. On the platform, there is a 5-armed stone circle. Each arm represents a direction, and there is a hole in the center. The sacred soil, water, and corn you brought from the lower levels have been poured into the hole. Now, you step aside and wait. You watch the high priest. His eyes beneath his mask meet yours. A knot forms in your throat. The expectations of all the city's inhabitants and the gods rest upon you. You place your hands on the ground and bow. It is time to smear the mixture in your palms across your face and inhale it through your nostrils. You take a sip. A brief tremor across your face like fluttering butterfly wings. Then you leap 3 times through the circle, once like a drop of water, once like a speck of earth, once like a grain of corn. Your 3 leaps whisper that your soul will pass through 3 stages in the Mayan ritual, letting go of death, being reborn, and belonging to the world. With each leap, the pressure beneath your feet is transmitted to your body. Your courage is love. Your fear is breath. When you stand up after the last leap, the plaza beneath you seems to form a web with the small pit and the grains you have scattered. When the high priest strikes the obsidian sistrum once more, its sound penetrates the deepest cracks of your mind, and in that moment, everything stops. The heat, the light, your breath. You don't know if the weight of the world has fallen on you, or if you have risen from the ground to the sky. You close your eyes. Grains of sand, corn kernels, and holy water all whisper, "You have come to the heart of the Maya. Here, you are immortal." Now take a deep breath, relax your body, and before opening your eyes, allow yourself to feel that the ceremony is complete. In the next section, you will descend into the secret gardens of the Maya ritual, witnessing the king's tombs and the mourning ceremonies by the lake. You can still feel the cool weight of corn seeds in your arms and the bittersweet residue of sacred tea on your lips. When you take a deep breath and open your eyes, you notice movement around the altar in the center of the plaza. The high priest's mask glows with golden yellow carvings. The ritual bell rings once more, and he approaches you with heavy steps. Each breath is more distinct than a droplet falling on the mist. The hollows beneath his eyes, so deep they seem to open into darkness, pierce your soul. The silent waiting beside you echoes in the 3 small temples at the other end of the plaza. The stone columns tremble with the wind's murmur. The high priest takes your trembling hand in his and silently bows your head. His lips move, but you hear no sound, yet you understand what he says. Now, surrender to your intuition. With a slight movement, he releases your hand. He quickly pulls the ritual bell and rings it once more, its sound echoing off the walls of Pyramid 2. And in that moment, you experience an illusion, as if the shadows trapped within the reliefs of the 4 small temples in the plaza are being set free. Jaguars crawl out of the ground, feathered snakes rise into the air. Human figures stare at you as if frozen in place. Your heart races again, but this time not from fear, but from the magic of the ritual. The thick, pudescent air mixes with the scent of fresh corn and damp stone. At the edges of the plaza, groups of spectators, families protecting their offerings, elders who have come to hear the rusty bells of the ceremony, children whispering clues, pause together. All are in a state of intelligent anticipation. How will this ceremony end? Ask the shadows in your eyes. You search for your own shadow's face, but it too has disappeared. The person you are looking for is you, who will be reshaped in this ritual. The high priest steps aside and moves toward the temple. The ground beneath your feet is as slippery as the main steps of the plaza. As you advance, you listen to the echo of each step, like discovering the rhythm of your own life. When you stand at the top of the narrow stairs leading to the temple, the shadow of the pyramid envelops your entire body. The heavy sound in your chest, the echo of fear and courage, keeps you standing tall. When you reach the threshold of the temple, the high priest shows you a small royal relief, the sign of the stars, a symbol of death and rebirth. He moves his fingers slightly and says silently, "Enter." Following his head with your eyes, you step inside. The interior is narrow and dimly lit. The ceilings are high. The walls, unlike the carvings in the underground tunnel, are vibrantly colored, red, orange, and blue pigments still vivid. Each figure depicts symbols of Maya astronomy and the divine calendar. It's as if an academy workshop, recording the heavens for a few breaths, has come to life on these walls. In the center is a sacred pit, painted black, perhaps to trap the darkness of night. Looking into the pit, you imagine the underground rivers, caves, and stars of the night sky depicted in the paintings. The high priest places the obsidian sprinkler on the edge of the pit and turns to you. The expression on his face says, "Dream. Leave the earth behind." As you feel your heartbeat, you take a few steps back and bow deeply. Closing your eyes and counting to 3, you feel as though you are stepping into pitch-black darkness. 1, 2, 3. As you count, you suddenly open your eyes and find yourself at the top of a ladder hanging from the edge of the pit. Thin, silvery beams of light hang from the ceiling, with water droplets forming small prisms on them. Looking down, you see that the ladder descends to the throat of the cave. At the bottom is a half-filled hall known as the Crystal Cave. The walls are as bright as crystals. The reflections of the moonlight on the water bounce off the walls, creating a strange pattern. The high priest steps forward and looks into the depths of the staircase cave. "Here," he says, "the boundary between the living and the dead trembles on the surface of the water." As he speaks, he extends the small bowl in his hand toward the water. It contains a pinch of cornmeal and a drop of sacred tea. You take the bowl and add a few drops of water. The cornflower clumps dance and spread across the surface of the water. At that moment, you hear a whispering echo in the silence of the cave, as if the shadows were murmuring your name. You carefully close the water container and place it on the edge of the rock. Then, you take a piece of bread the size of your palm, baked over lightly charred logs, like the first bread of the day, and press it against a wall infused with the cave's oxygen-rich scent. The high priest turns to you and gestures. "The last thing you must do is dip this bread into the water. It is both nourishment and a preparation for the soul." Taking a deep breath, you dip the piece of bread into the water with your trembling hand. The surface that touches the water softens immediately, the bread absorbing the water. The bread beneath the water feels like dough in your hand. Every fiber seems to carry the legacy of ancient Maya agriculture. The reflections of the reddish wall carvings shimmer on the water's surface and dance on the bread. It is as if the spirit of the cave is approving the connection you have made with this substance. You pause once more, lift the water bowl, and bring the wet edge of the bread to your lips. You take a bite. A salty, half-raw taste rises in your mouth, a scent unique to that underground realm where earth and water meet explodes on your tongue. As you slowly chew the raw bread, your mind clears as if filtered through a sieve. The high priest waits silently. The ceremony that began in the plaza has finally reached its final ritual in this cave. After the piece of bread, you place the cornmeal crust dipped in water on the surface of the cave's water. The crust slowly sinks to the bottom, like a semi-transparent shadow. As the crystals on the cave walls sparkle, each 1,000-year-old witness, you watch the crust descend to the bottom of the water. At that moment, you hear a crackling sound, like a stone sliding. It is as if a being is touching you from the depths of the cave. You look up, but the high priest is there too. The gaps beneath his mask conceal the mystery within. In that moment of silence, your mind swirls among the shadows. You have encountered the deepest roots of your life. You were born in the trembling shadow of the earth. You chewed a symbolic bread and dipped it in holy water. And now, in the bright darkness of the cave, your inner self has become a single vibration of peace and anxiety. The high priest rings the bell once more. It is the sound of the final invitation. "Rise," he says. "Turn toward the sun." Slowly, you stand up and head toward the steps. To reach the top is to lift your face to the sky. To step back into the light is the final gift of the ritual. As you step back into the misty sky, the plaza's deserted stones still glimmer with the first sparks of dawn. Leaving Pyramid 2 behind, you head toward the Sun Temple at the western end of the plaza. With each step, the warm stones beneath your feet send out a tremor, as if the spirit of the Maya world is watching you without deceiving you. The temple's decayed hall. When you reach the Sun Temple, you see double-armed obsidian candlesticks placed in front of the entrance. As you step inside, you see broken pieces of marble and dried mud between the low arches of the ceiling. In the center stands a giant basin in the shape of a human figure, hollowed out inside. Its edges are carved with obsidian dust, and the water inside is still cool and salty. When you dip your feet in, a chill spreads from your legs to your spine. The reliefs surrounding the pool depict Mayan sacred heroes hunting, bird-headed armor, tiger skins, feathered Toltec figures. A series of reliefs compels you to move. On the south wall of the pool, there is a scene of a king diving into the water to save the souls of the drowned. Below it is a hieroglyph meaning mad water, ek cha ul. As you gaze at this scene, you take out the ceramic bowl in your hand and fill it with water from the pool. Journey to the Karantes Temple. After drinking a drop from the pool, bitter, salty, and earthy, you head to the northwest corridor of the plaza. Here stands the Karantes Temple, covered with huge authentic shells. Although its name is unknown, the locals say that rituals from the sea are performed here. At the temple's entrance, 2 giant shell sculptures greet you. A warm breeze blows from within, as if opening onto a distant lagoon. On the ceramic mosaic floor at the entrance, there are 5 colored clay tablets: corn, cocoa, obsidian, beetle red paint, and white lime. Each represents the 4 directions as well as the spirit of water. You walk across the mosaic to a simple rhythm, your footsteps following the lines of the tablets. The large hall inside the temple is covered with worn wave patterns, like a sea cave. On the floor, seashell fragments make a sweet crunching sound. Sea spirit ritual. The lid of the stone sarcophagus in the center of the hall is decorated with seashell and snake motifs. When you lift the lid, steam rises, carrying a salty kiss. Inside the sarcophagus are dried seaweed, tiny seashells, and obsidian flakes. Take a handful of seaweed with the ceramic bowl you left behind and rub it on your lips. Then spread the moisture from the sarcophagus on your skin. Immediately afterwards, the deep buzzing of the ritual bell envelops you. The sound brings the wave patterns on the walls to life, and it's as if an ocean melody is rising from the cave. Descending to the lake shore, you leave the temple and run toward the stone steps on the eastern edge of the plaza. As you descend, the wet marble slabs beneath you curve like branches. The steps lead you to the lake temple, a small structure on the very edge of a Mayan lagoon. The lake's surface is glassy, its colors shifting from dawn blue to deep emerald green. At the lake's edge, there is a narrow wooden pier extending into the water. Your feet are bare, and you feel the trembling vibrations rising from the thin wood beneath you. As you step onto the pier, the moisture rising from the lake's surface cools your skin. You sprinkle the last of the corn flour into the water, then dip the palm-sized ceramic bowl into the water. Once again, you feel the water of immortality. Cold, pure, heavy. Secrets of the lake. As you gaze into the lake's waters, you notice movement in the depths. A colorful school of fish glides by, their scales shimmering like obsidian. According to legend, these fish symbolize the underwater migration of Maya spirits. The silhouette of the temple reflected in the lake and the reliefs on it hypnotize you. As you look at the water, a silhouette rises from the shadows and greets you. You drop the sacred elements, mud, corn, obsidian water, and moss, you collected from the 4 temples into the lake water, one by one. With each release, the water ripples as if emitting a cry of sorrow and joy. After the last piece of moss is gone, the lake water falls silent for a moment, like a hollow void. Then a deep echo. You have found life in the shadows. Word of the morning. As you kneel by the lake shore, the first rays of dawn spread across the water's surface like a layer of feathers. You touch the water with your fingertips, then stroke your forehead. This is the sacredness of the ritual carried into the morning. You feel a light peace and at the same time a deep weight within you. Maya lands are not only the source of death, but also of life. When you stand up and return to the plaza, your steps are no longer as heavy as before. Pyramid 2 glistens in the sunlight in the distance. The shadows of the temples fall in long rays on the stone steps. You whisper a new word in your heart, resurrection. End of chapter. As you watch the white birds rise into the sky, you place the small ceramic bowl in your pocket. The salty scent of earth still lingers on it. The moment your feet touch the plaza's stone floor, you feel the sun begin to warm the world. Here, at the heart of the Maya rituals, you take your first breath of the day. In the next episode, I will take you to the labyrinthine corridors of ancient palaces, the king's hidden tombs, and farewell rituals performed under the moonlight. But first, take a deep breath and open your arms, for the Maya world is blessing you. You walked through the mist and reached the large courtyard beyond the plaza. In this area, where the last curve of the moon is faintly visible, shadow plays dance behind the dry walls that surround you on all sides. This is a complex that once passed through the labyrinth known as the Royal Palace. In the middle of the stone courtyard is a roofless inner courtyard with carved pits in the corners and slender columns pointing to the sky. On the columns, there are still traces of geometric paintings, red ochre, clay blue, sun yellow. Under your feet, the traces of adobe blocks that have been lying on the street for days carry equal weight of hope and decay. A few steps further, you see narrow doors lined up along the wall. They all look alike. 4 masks with human faces on them, each symbolizing a season and one of the 4 directions. The eye sockets of the masks are empty, seeming to respond the moment you think, enter, witness the darkness. You choose the northernmost door, the child of winter, the mask bearing the wisdom of cold. As you step over the threshold, the air seeping inside brings a slight chill to the breathing stone walls. Time slows down. The coolness mingling with your breath trembles the silence of the inner courtyard, swaying like a stone swing. At the end of the corridor are 3 doors side by side. When you look at the first one, you see a shadowed fireplace in the courtyard. Dried up ashes inside, scenes of victory carved into the square walls around it. A warrior holding a spear, sparrows falling behind him, flames in the background. You bring your lamp closer to the wall. Before the reliefs come into focus, you hear a sound, like a lament sinking into the smoke. A deep hiss. You take a step back and turn the lamp toward the second room. The second room is the healer's chamber. The floor is beige-white cement with a musty smell in the corners. In the center is a stone table with a model of an obsidian lung surrounded by parchments. The parchments contain drawings, reed tubes used to draw blood, magical herbs, blue clay paste. Light seeping through the walls illuminates striped glass bottles. Inside the bottles are 3 different liquids, dark green, deep purple, and clear, sparkling water. The healer performs bloodletting rituals here, expelling illness along with the spirit. A voice inside you whispers, "Don't touch." Still, you take a step forward and look at the carefully sealed bottles on the edge of the table. They bear short Mayan symbols: pain, healing, fear. The easternmost door is the treasure of the ritual. The small lamp in your hand inhales the fragrant smoke of incense. When you enter, you find yourself in a dimly lit room. Thin chains hang from the arches, golden panels lean against the walls, and golden statues stand in the 4 corners. A jaguar, a crocodile, a bird-masked man, and a woman holding a bowl of water. In the center, suspended a few inches above the ground, is a reed basket containing a black ocean coral the size of a pearl, the night coral. According to legend, this coral is placed under the moonlight on the most sacred ceremonial nights, and when water is poured over it, it echoes the sounds of the ritual. You touch the edge of the basket with your hand and feel the vibration of a cold but heavy substance. You go to the slightly elevated platform opposite the courtyard. The steps lead you to the highest point of the palace. Here is the high grain storehouse. But this storehouse does not contain ordinary corn, but ritual corn, golden yellow, prepared to be chewed, frozen for the gods. When you open the warehouse door wide, the interior rises like a dark tower. Inside, corn ears carved in the shape of waves float upward toward the sky. You hurriedly open your bag and pour the last of the ritual corn into it. The corn scatters around you like a broken melody. Each kernel makes a sound as deep as a rumble as it falls. You close the corn-filled basket and lean against the old stone wall. You have walked around the palace 4 times. The stories told by the shadows cannot be read with the naked eye, but they are engraved in the center of your soul. Now it is time to advance to the heart of the labyrinth, a stone corridor built through a ruined arch. The large pebbles on the ground lie irregularly, as if representing the footprints of past rituals, but each one falls back into place with every step. Along the corridor, dark figures, human, jaguar, bird hybrids, speak in an esoteric half-language. Observe. Question. touch the past. At the end of the corridor, a stone door leads you to the Hall of Lost Tombs. The door's inscriptions read, "He who sleeps here guards the deepest secret." You step inside, pushing aside the hanging chains. The interior is as large as a basilica, with a high ceiling. In the center stands a massive sarcophagus, dull gray marble, engraved with reliefs that seem to suffocate the darkness. Around the sarcophagus are the ashes of 4 small altars. On each altar are dried bloodstains and fragments of palm leaves. When you lift the lid of the sarcophagus, there is only a pair of baby footprints inside, 2 small bone marks, as if a child had been born here and immediately vanished into thin air. The footprints are carved into the relief, seeming to breathe lightly, as if they might move if touched. You lean over the edge of the sarcophagus and slip your fingers into the carved grooves. You feel a trembling wind fill your insides. At that moment, a voice echoes, "Thousands of babies, thousands of souls, but none leave a trace." You step back. A fiery smile rises on the stone wall, belonging to a human or a jaguar, it is unclear. Your eyes lock on the door, not an exit, but another passage, a short, low-arched opening. Beyond it, a faint light flickers. "Rise or you will be lost here," says the shadow of the wall. You pause for a moment. A cry rises from the depths of your soul. Fear or curiosity? Then you take a step forward. Leaving the Hall of Lost Tombs behind you, you proceed through the shadowy passage. With each step, you begin to hear a melody rising from the palace, the delicate tuning of a stringed instrument mingled with the distant tolling of bells. Have you heard this before? Perhaps in the next chapter, you will discover the source of this melody and witness the king's sorrowful lamentations in the palace's secret music chambers. Now, take a deep breath. Wait for the new secret to appear in the shadow of the trembling arches. Type GO, and let's proceed to the music rooms of the royal palace. You have left the ritual by the lake at the Sun Temple and passed through the labyrinth of the royal palace. Now, you are stepping into the highest part of the palace, the music hall. The echo of your footsteps trembles on the narrow marble walls. The last bell ringing in your ears has just faded away. At the end of the corridor, the large double doors disappear from view for a moment, then creak open with a heavy clang. The interior is pitch black, but a beam of moonlight filtering through the narrow cracks in the walls casts golden lines on a large rug spread across the floor. As you step through the door, the cinnamon powder sprinkled on the rug beneath your feet gives you a slight warmth. In the center of the hall, a raised platform rises a few feet off the ground. On it sits Shulpat, a figure with pointed ears and a face half human, half jaguar, blowing into a horn, known in Mayan legend as the voice carrier. His hands turn a series of small incense burners. The smoke rising from each one swirls like notes vibrating in your inner ear, rising from the darkness of the room toward the light. When Shulpat notices you, he bows his head slightly and extends his hand toward you. In his palm lies a miniature obsidian flute, its tip carved from a corn cob. "Play the oldest melody," he says in your mind, not with his voice, but with his energy. When you take it, the cold metal surface of the flute fits delicately against your fingertips. The scent of incense intensifies, carrying with it the aroma of spices and dry forest. Shulpat steps back and points to the engraved musical notes on the marble slab beneath the figure, the simple patterns of long-forgotten Mayan scales. You begin with a triple rhythm. The first note, blown with the power of your breath and your fingers, sends the incense smoke rising like a mournful dirge. On the second note, broken beams of moonlight slip through the cracks in the arched ceiling. On the third note, the ring of smoke around Shulpat grows and swells like a living sound wave. With each breath of the flute, the lines of the reliefs on the walls come to life. Jaguar claws prepare to attack. Feathered bird wings flap. Human figures freeze as if notes are coming out of their mouths. Your heartbeat synchronizes with the rhythm of the flute. After a while, your own inner voice blends with the sound of your footsteps, an ancient rhythm coursing through the veins of Maya music. As the melody continues to rise, lights flicker in the small arched niches at the four corners of the room, and the shadows cast by the reliefs on the walls intertwine. The layers of time crack open. Centuries ago, after the ritual on the lakeshore, the kingdom's musicians played until dawn. They too held the same flute in their hands, blew the same notes, breathed the same smoke. Suddenly, the flute's final note fades away, as if choked by the highest arches of the ceiling. The hall is suddenly enveloped in silence. No sound except your own breathing. Shulpat bows again, and you hear him say in your mind, "The ritual is complete. What remains is to live out your destiny." As you carefully place the flute back in its case, the trembling in your hands subsides. The shadows in the hall slowly calm and retreat to their places. As you head for the door, the moonlight guides you once more. You walk through the narrow corridor to the inner courtyard, then out to the outer walls of the palace, back to the stone silhouette of Tikal intertwined with the forest. The shadows of each wall stretch with the first light of dawn. A new day begins between the trees and stones. As your steps lead you back to the plaza, you feel the weight of the small obsidian flute in your pocket. It was a legendary call, a melody written by the Maya spirits. Now you walk forward, facing the sunlight directly. The shadow of Pyramid 2 is long and cold, but there is warmth in your steps, a courage stamped by the ancient rhythm that resonates in your heart. In the next part of this unfinished journey, we will discover the secret water tunnels beneath the palace and the sacred whirlpools of the serpent god within them. Now, take a deep breath and turn toward the sun, for in the land of the Maya, every ray of light opens the door to the next secret. As you return underground, you bid farewell to the scorching sun of the plaza and step into the darkness of a stone corridor. Countless cracks line the walls. The scent of moisture and mud fills your lungs as you stretch out toward the tunnel walls, where moonlight dances with shadows. This is the passage leading to the mysterious water channels beneath the palace. The sacred river flowing through the earth, known to the Maya as Apu Itza. Your footsteps echo with an acoustic resonance that reverberates through your joints. The wet stone surface beneath your feet glows like a bright path in the flickering light of your obsidian lantern, while the rhythm of falling water droplets seems to accompany the echo of a drum beating in the distance. As you venture deeper into the tunnel, the darkness grows thicker. At every turn, you hold your breath for a few seconds to let your eyes adjust. After a while, a small niche appears on your left. Inside, a half-submerged stone vessel, mossy and shiny, as if it had just emerged from beneath the water. You tilt the lantern to look, faint ripples on the water's surface as if reflecting the pulse of the underground river. You reach out and take a drop. The coldness on your lips instantly clashes with the scorching heat of the plaza. You bring it to your mouth and taste it, the bitterness of the earth, a faint sulfur undertone, and a metallic coldness that makes you shiver with every sip. This is the living blood of Apu Itza. The corridors lead you to a fourth door. On either side of the door are serpent heads carved from obsidian, with silver propellers hanging from their mouths. Take another step, and you discover a wheel mechanism in the shadows. A round stone wheel. When you turn it slightly, a creaking sound echoes from deep within, and the other end of the corridor suddenly opens into a moving section. As you step inside, you are met by warm air rising from the low floor. In the center of a wide gallery, you see intricate carvings on the walls, half human, half fish figures, guardians of underwater temples in Maya mythology. The stone floor slopes gently, guiding you into a room filled with water. When your feet touch the water, the heat rises to your ankles. The depth of the water is not immediately apparent, but there is a murmur beyond your lips, like the heartbeat of an underground river. In the center stands a 5-step stone pool rising from the ground. Each step is carved from a different colored mineral layer: green serpentine, red hematite, blue akis, black obsidian, and at the bottom, gleaming white kinnick. When you reach the top of the pool, you dip the xylophone stick in your hand into the water, and instantly rings spread out, illuminating the entire gallery. The reliefs on the walls come to life, and fish-human guardians turn their faces toward you. A delicate ringing echoes the sound of the underground river. Turning your head, you notice a small obsidian shape in a niche on the wall, the coiled depiction of the serpent god Kukulkan. You reach out and take the shape in your hand. Its cold surface gives you the feeling that you are holding the key to the ritual. At that very moment, a flow rises from the depths of the pool. A whirlpool, half a meter in diameter, begins to spin from the dark chest of the water. The whirlpool sucks in the light like a flat waterfall, engulfing the entire pool in a magical darkness. You choose your steps carefully. Each step up means illuminating another layer. As you wave Kukulkan in your hand, 3 small obruks stand stacked on top of each other at the edge of the pool. A reddish vapor rises from the bottom of the middle sinkhole. Slowly, you tilt the serpent god toward the sinkhole and release it into the water. The figure quickly submerges, and the whirlpool doubles in speed, beginning to swallow the water's surface like a black hole. As your heartbeat synchronizes with the vortex's rhythm, your mind whispers, "Jump into the water with courage." A spark in your mind transforms your lantern into a small, lidded container. Not a tool, but a sacred ritual object. The ritual you began with the obsidian flute will be completed here in the depths of the water. You hold your breath and take the final step, diving into the water. As your breath bubbles up into the air, your body blends into the heavy mass of water. Your senses blur, leaving only the memory of the rhythm. The water curtain closes behind you like a distorted tunnel. The beating of your heart becomes the final cry of the underground river. And at that very moment, your eyes close, your mind trembles, and you merge with the water's collective breath. One final invitation to awaken to the next chapter. Type, go, and let's venture out into the stars, beyond Maya's underground secrets, to a new discovery. As you rise from the whirlpool of the lake, the damp darkness of the tunnel remains behind you, and as an indistinct cloud of mist greets you in front of the plaza's door facing the room, daylight flows in once more. You feel your heart beating, still carrying the coldness of the water on your shoulders. The stone pavement beneath your feet now feels like the threshold to the community plaza, following the stories woven by the labyrinth's stones. Before you, 2 massive carved stone blocks, a pair of pillars taller than your shoulders. This is the nerve center of the Maya city, the game court, the sacred space of the ball game. As you take a step and pass between the columns, The wind caressing your face trembles with an indefinable harmony, as if the breaths of spectators from the past. The square is flat, 15 meters wide, with stone walls on either side reaching 6 meters high. In the center of the walls, at waist height, are square grooves, narrow passages through which the ball must pass during the Maya ball game. On one side of the wall is a carved eagle's head, on the other, a crocodile's mouth. These are divine avatars reflecting the face of the opponent. As you move silently forward, the sound of the ball echoes in your ears, first faintly, then suddenly, a sharp clang. Tack, tack, like the distant echo of stone steps falling onto the pyramid's base. You look around. At the corner of the playing field, seated on a stone platform, stands a solemn figure, the referee priest. He wears a jaguar pelt on his shoulder and holds an obsidian whistle in his hand. In the pile of sand, 2 holes stand out along a 20-meter line, the boundary between the poles. The sand beneath your feet feels heavy with the weight of the ritual. The judge priest's lips move, but it's not his voice you hear, just the trembling command. Recognize the rules. Understand the purpose of the ritual. What purpose? Your mind seeks to grasp the spirit of the game. You take a few steps forward. The sand covers your socks in tiny grains. When you reach the center of the square, the referee priest raises his hand, signaling the start of the game. The angle of the moonlight is as clear as the coolness of the graveyard. A supporting figure on the stage hands you an obsidian ball. You feel its texture, cold, heavy, small enough to fit perfectly in your hand. The ritual ball. At first touch, you feel a vibration in your hand, as if the ball is eager to tell the story of your steps. The referee priest blows his whistle, and the game begins. As you slide your feet across the sand and approach the wall carvings, remember, this is not just a game, but a bridge between the dead and the living. You make the first strike, gently flicking the obsidian ball with the inside of your knee, aiming to pass it through the square opening on the opposite wall. Sand flies up, the ball bounces off the wall, and returns. The rhythm of your steps and the ball synchronizes, like the heartbeat of a magical spell. You wonder how many hits you can withstand. Each bounce in the ritual is a test. As the ball bounces, grains of sand brush against your skin like a passing ceremony. On the second hit, the ball passes through the square, echoing like a faint hum, and a ring of light rises from the wall carvings. Jaguar claws move, and tiny mold mouths open and close between the gaps of skull flowers. Each pass is a step approved by the gods. A smile appears on your face as your footprints in the sand leave a trail behind you. The trail of the ritual. The referee priest blows his whistle again. 3 beats, 5 beats, 10 beats. You feel the rhythm written in the sand. As you bounce the ball using your hands and knees, your body transforms into an object of worship. Beads of sweat trickle down your shoulders and merge with the sand. You fix the ball under your knees and perform a jumping ritual, a leap that sends the ball into the air, followed by passing it through the wall's opening, the ritual's transformation. On the 10th strike, the ball passes through the square multiple times, and the eyes of the crocodile mouth relief on the wall flicker with a reddish glow. The beating of your heart echoes between the fine lines of sand. The figures of spectators appearing at the corners of the square watch like shadows of your souls. Every spectator, every dead soul, every god approves of this ritual. With the final strike, a light escapes as the ball passes through the frame, the entrance to an illuminated tunnel. The sand disperses. The ball trembles slightly, then comes to rest. The ring of light emanating from the frame beckons you forward. To follow it is to take the final step into the ritual. Your feet lift from the sand, drawn toward the light. When you step into the light, you find yourself at the entrance to a pitch-black gallery. The walls are covered with half-faded frescoes, figures of Mayan kings, queens, priests, and warriors. Moonlight filters through the arched ceilings to greet you. The sound of voices passing through the sandy courtyard fades away. The silence beneath the ground whispers the ultimate secret of the ritual. At the end of the gallery is a narrow opening. The entrance of light is like the dawn. The faint golden-green light seeping through this opening is an invitation to the last room. The spirit of the ritual echoes in your soul. Go, beyond the shadows. Reveal the secret of the tomb. You take a deep breath. The sand, the water, the sound, the light all merge, and you take one more step toward finding the true heart of the ritual. You take one last step through the misty light, and the concrete shadows tremble and dissolve on the moss-covered stones. Before you stands the final hall, with its stone-arched ceiling and wet mosaic floor adorned with raised reliefs. The ultimate heart of the Mayan ritual. Golden-green light seeps through the heavy shutters beyond the hall, each ray shining as if it will reveal the deepest secrets hidden here. The moment time stands still. The wet stone surface beneath your feet slowly creaks. The air around you carries neither the cold dampness of the underground nor the heat of the plaza. This is what you must call time preservation. There is no wind, no birdsong, only the echoes of the horn, flute, whirlpool, and cannon behind you combine to create their own intrinsic rhythm. That rhythm vibrates in your veins. The stairs. Beyond the door. On the wall of the hall, there is a 5-step platform rising toward the sky. The steps are polished obsidian, their edges covered with patterns carved from corn cobs. The figures of the high priest and Chulpat standing at the edge watch you like stone statues. You are the only one who will cross the threshold. When you place your hand on the step, the cold metal trembles. You feel a mixture of emotions on your face. Fear, curiosity, hope. The endless journey. First step, you hear the sound of your own breath. The depths of the closed palace are no longer an inaccessible secret. Second step, moonlight shatters on every piece of obsidian, transforming into reddish-green sparks. Third step, you bend your knees slightly. Your body is weary, but your will is strong. The Maya spirit within you is awakening. Fourth step, your heartbeat and the ancient drumbeat synchronize. The prayers of generations now flow with you. Fifth step, you raise your head and choose the dome of the hall's highest mirrored dome, which resembles the sky. This is the key point. The heart of the mirror. As you come level with the floor, a massive stone mirror appears before you. Moss leaves murmurs in its moss-covered cracks. This is the mirror of the other world, a door that watches over whispered spirits and the future. The high priest removes his mask and bows silently. You understand from his gaze. Now comes the final stage. Face yourself. You step in front of the mirror. You kneel on the cold stone floor. You touch the surface of the mirror with your hand. As your fingertips brush against the lines, a beam of light spreads out. In that moment, your vision blurs, and instead of your reflection, you see a warrior from the Maya era. His chest covered in bloodstains, an obsidian knife in his hand, his eyes filled with both hope and sorrow. You take a step back, but your legs are locked into the stone and won't move. The past comes alive. The warrior in the reflection bends slightly, reaching toward you. As your fingertips still touch the mirror, the falling lines glow. You hear an echo, as if the edge of the obsidian knife is slicing through the air. Test your courage. As you look into the mirror, you hear your own breathing. When you smiled, when you cried, when you waited vigilantly until dawn. It's all etched into the walls of this room. Now, the reflection joins the dialogue. The warrior whispers your name, the sacred name of the ritual. The sword's trial. To your right, in a narrow niche, lies a small obsidian knife. You bend down to pick it up. As the hilt slips into your hand, an electric current surges through you. The sword's lines spell out your name, your darkest fears, your deepest desires. You ask yourself, what will you cut with this sword? Your fear, your past, or yourself? When you raise the sword, there is a roar in your head, the sound of 2 drums beating in unison, and then the warrior in the mirror stares back at you. Now it is time to decide. Will you extend your hand with the sword toward the reflection of the warrior, or will you drop the sword and choose to look at him? Choice 1. Cutting. You direct the sword toward the reflection. The blade pierces the mirror. The surface of the mirror cracks. You and the warrior tremble and melt at the same time. Time stops, and then everything turns white, the purified page of the ritual. 2. Surrender. You drop the sword. You place your trembling hands on your knees and continue to stare at the mirror. The warrior slowly loses his silhouette. The surface of the mirror smooths out. You are reflected, with old pains in your heart, but one step closer to freedom. Third union. You tilt the sword not toward the mirror, but toward your own heart. A ritualistic gesture. The warm vibration you feel on your chest from the blade's touch causes the warrior's shadows to intertwine with yours in the mirror. A united fragment of spirit is born, and the light radiating from the mirror bathes the hall in gold. End of the ritual. Whichever choice you make, the lines of the mirror melt away. The hall ripples like a collapse. Stones, arches, reliefs, and statues begin to slowly collapse inward. The dome of the ceiling cracks, and the light transforms into a wide window opening outward in a matter of seconds. The plaza's sunrise rolls in, and birdsong and the first notes of the wind filter in. Ascent. When you open your eyes, you find yourself in the middle of the plaza. The majestic stone blocks standing in front of Pyramid 2 are erected as they were at the beginning. One detail is missing. Depending on the choice you made, whether with a knife or with your heart, there is a slight glow over you, a deep weight in your soul, or a tremor of freedom in your body. Everything has ended, but it will never end. In the Mayan world, dying and resurrecting are steps in each other's shadow. You take a step, and the stone beneath your foot seems to bend, disappearing into the heart of the ritual. When you turn back, the vastness of the plaza embraces you. As the sun illuminates your entire face, the bittersweet pride of having touched humanity's oldest secret fills your lungs. Now close your eyes and take a deep breath. Your journey is complete. The imprints of your feet, corn kernels, water droplets, and obsidian fingerprints will remain in the plaza. The ritual is over, but the memories will continue forever, just like the cycle of the Mayan calendar. As the sun rises over the shadows of Tikal's massive pyramids, you still find yourself emerging from the palace's intricate corridors, passing through the community square, and returning to the plaza. At the summit of Pyramid 2, the rays of the newly risen sun sparkle like golden dust, your ritual footprints still fresh on the stones. The wide stone path at the edge of the plaza greets you with the shadow of an ancient explorer. You fall into a rhythm with your steps, as if the ancient stone pavements are inviting you with the sound of a fairy tale. Within you, the feeling that you belong to this universe, that you are a timeless piece of it, rises. The stone path leads you to the eastern end of the plaza, to the women's market, where women gather to plant corn. Here, under the shady arbors, smoke rises from handmade clay pots baking cornbread. You lower the water bag you carry on your back and fill your mouth with fresh water from a small hole in front of a vendor leaning against a tent pole. The bitter-sweet taste of the earth lingers on your tongue. The pure bitterness of previous rituals, now a drop of refreshment. Passing through the market, you enter a narrow passage that leads you behind the high walls of the palace. The wall reliefs here are different. Figures of women stand in a row, each holding a pipe, symbolizing the carrying of water. You feel the silent prayers of the female spirits around you, like prayers waiting for the bright second quarter of the moon. You take another step, and the weight of the dark corridor begins to descend upon you. At the end of the corridor, you reach a small room covered with an old stone door, the archive of water and shadow. On the walls, the secret texts of rituals are carved in hieroglyphs. The lines are made clearer by the moisture of the earth, and each symbol whispers to you with the tone of hidden knowledge. In the center, there is a wheeled obsidian bookcase. A single volume is waiting to be carefully removed from its place. When you pick up the book and open it, the pages are covered in thin papyrus. Sentences written in the ancient Maya language with a sharp stylus whisper the following words to you in the first lines. Water is both the source of life and the tomb of immortality. Those who seek and find water uncover the secret of the shadows. You read the pages for a while, then close the book and place it back in the box. The box is a hollowed-out piece of an ancient Egyptian grinding stone, prepared for reuse as ritual material. When you place your hand on the edge of the box, you feel subtle vibrations, as if the written text is physically touching your senses. You exit the corridor and return to the plaza. The sun has risen high. The stones are scorching. Leaning on the straps of your backpack, you breathe in the scent of the water archive, then the pages. At that moment, it is not just habit, but also a belief that drives you. Every step, every object, every shadow is like touching a living cell of the Maya universe. As the hours pass, you arrive at the storyteller's fountain at the western end of the plaza. The fountain is set in a semicircular stone niche. Above it are bird-headed gods, and on the side walls are goddesses with human faces. In the center is a stone basin filled with water. You slowly lean over the edge of the tray and cup your hands to catch the water. The droplet is crystal clear and ice cold. The trace it leaves on your chest is as profound as an oath. You have no intention of drinking. You return the water to the tray, dip your fingertips into it, and then trace the sacred point on your forehead. This ritual is a step in making a vow. According to ancient Mayan tradition, it is a direct communication between the forehead and the spirit. As you wait in the shadow of the fountain, the clouds in the sky suddenly begin to disperse, and the sun pulls back its curtains. For a moment, you feel both tested and blessed. After leaving the fountain, you head to the small pyramid in the center of the plaza, the ritual pit. Here, the traces of previous ceremonies have been erased. The pebbles have been gathered, the chains of damnation removed. You want to climb the peak, now covered in dark black obsidian dust. But the next stage of the ritual calls you to another path, the secret passage beyond the shadows. A narrow path winds its way down the south side of the pyramid. At the beginning of the path, lanterns hang, each containing a mixture of water and powdered dust, with tiny light-emitting fossil fragments embedded within. When you take a lantern in your hand and light it, a yellowish glow spreads. You find yourself on a deserted forest path. The tree trunks are a dark brown, the branches intertwined. The light from the lantern passes through the branches, creating flickering shadows on the ground. This path is the first step into the dense forest beyond the plaza. The ground is covered with reptile tracks. Tree bark is covered with moss. As you walk further, the light from the lantern hits the thick shadows between the tree trunks that rise like walls. At that moment, there is no sound from the city, no bird song, no rustling of the wind, only the silence of moonlight filtering through the leaves. Immediately, you are reminded of the underground vortex and the warrior in the mirror from the last chapter. Here, on the surface, another test awaits you. As the path narrows, the lamp you are holding trembles more and more. It's as if all your sacred objects, the flute, the knife, the book, the water, the corn, have turned into a single shadow following you. You hold the lamp steady and move forward. Your steps are as precise as a musician hitting the most critical beat. The ground is no longer damp, but dry dust. The golden light of the lamp makes the dust particles dance in the air. As you dig deeper, the path opens up again. Before you, a damp cave entrance, its walls covered in moss, with a snake motif carved into the edge of the opening. The cave abandons all the light of the plaza and opens up into the heart of the shadows. The next stage of the ritual is here, a journey through the cave, an invitation to lose yourself in layers of water, shadows, and time. As the light of the lamp spreads into the cave, the reliefs on the stones emerge. Scorpion gods, lizard priests, half-human, half-snake figures. They all say the same thing. Afterwards, there is no return. You take a deep breath. Your chest is filled with the footsteps you left behind in the plaza. As you leave the path behind and step into the cave, you embrace the last shadow that the ritual has cast on the ground. It is early evening, and the last rays of sunlight are fading from the stone pyramids of Tikal, but you are still standing at the entrance to the cave. The flickering flame of the obsidian lantern you carry illuminates the damp walls of the cave's depths with a faint turquoise glow. Each breath you take echoes slowly, bouncing off the moss-covered columns and lizard figures with tails dragging on the floor. As you take a step, you hear a faint hissing sound coming from the slippery stone floor beneath your feet, as if the cave wants you to acknowledge its presence. The weight of your body pressing down on you feels like the breath of a being rising from the earth. As you take your first step, you tilt your lantern to create a circle of light on the cave ceiling. There, on the walls, delicate carvings catch your eye. A serpent god figure, white smoke billowing from its mouth. A jaguar mask, its eyes ablaze with fire, made even more vivid by the golden light of your lantern. A human figure, kneeling with a bowl of water in its hands. All of them, water, fire, earth, and sky, are arranged like sacred guardians protecting the cave's entrance. As you venture deeper, the corridor narrows. The number of steps is unclear, and the rough stone walls come so close they almost touch. The moss patterns on either side seem to move in the flickering light of the lantern. The rhythm of your footsteps begins a new test that takes you past the stairs of the first section, the water tunnels of the second, the shell shrines of the third, and the playing field of the fourth. Your breath rises slowly in tiny clouds that surrender to the darkness. In the middle of the corridor, you notice a protrusion rising from the floor, an ancient altar prepared for the carrier spirits. Its surface is covered with a mixture of clay moistened with fine obsidian dust and fresh water. The altar is placed on a large stone block. On the edge of the block, a mysterious phrase written in Mayan hieroglyphs. Roots reach to the sky, branches extend to the underworld. After reading the inscription for a few seconds, you turn your attention to the small ceramic bowl on the altar. Inside, there's a pool of lukewarm water. A few water lilies continue to glisten on the surface. You bend down to add the sacred water you collected during the ritual, but you hesitate as you release the first drop from your hand. An echo still lingering in the depths of your inner world causes you to pause. You take a deep breath and gently shake the bowl with your red clay-covered hand, stirring the water. Above your head, thin rays of light seep through small cracks in the stone arches of the ceiling, like the lines of an ancient star map. As these beams of light hit the mirror-like surface of the water, the algae in the bowl sprout, forming tiny green bubbles. The water rises in clusters like a heartbeat, dripping onto the stone table. Each drop shakes the silence of the cave's depths and echoes. As you leave the altar, the damp traces on the stone floor guide you to the other side. At the end of the corridor, an arched door appears. The huge obsidian snake statue above the door, with its mouth open wide, invites you inside. When you reach out and hold the hollows on either side of the door, the vibration of the cold stone spreads throughout your arm. When you bend down under the arch and look inside, you see an invitation to cross over. A small, dimly lit room with a floor covered in red clay dust. The shadow of passion. As you enter the small room, you shine your torchlight on the walls. The reliefs depict the gods of emotions, a couple holding hands, their eyes closed, a young man writing words of love on a cave wall, a priest comforting a woman figure crying under the moonlight. In the small niches at the bottom of the walls, there are dried bloodstains and a few dry rose petals. When you feel the corn kernels around your neck, you realize that this place was once steeped in the mourning rituals of a passion long past. All the sounds in the hall turn into a muffled echo. You take another step forward and raise the lantern to chest height. The rhythm in your chest quickens, as if eager to hear the cries of the spirits. On the opposite wall hangs an obsidian mirror. The spell is not broken. Its surface is smooth, but the edges are cracked. The mirror is so shadowed that you cannot see your reflection. Instead, the memories of the reliefs on the walls flow onto the surface. The first moment of a couple's meeting, prayers for abundance, tears of separation. You pause for a moment and close your eyes. A fire fills your heart. The first visitors to this room lived here, intertwining love and sorrow, dedicating their hearts to the gods. You feel suspended between remembering and forgetting. Before taking your next step, you place your hand on the surface of the mirror and breathe. Under your fingertips, there is a vibration, a subtle voltage that resonates with the echo in your heart. You do not see what is reflected in the mirror, but yourself, the weight of an unforgettable moment, the traces of a passionate quest, sign of the season of love. You take your hand off the mirror and leave the room. The floor is covered with old clay lines, as if prepared for your footprints. At the other end of the corridor, there is a small niche with incense smoke rising from it. Inside, there is a handful of dried lavender, a few drops of red clay paste, and 3 small obsidian beads. These materials are used in the Mayan goddess of fertility's seasonal cycle ritual. Lavender symbolizes peace, clay symbolizes rebirth, and obsidian symbolizes protection. Kneeling in front of the niche, you place your hands cupped over the materials. First, you take the lavender and inhale deeply, sharp but refreshing. Then you take the clay paste and apply it to your prayer pit. As you move, the clay spreads across your skin like a pale pink veil. Finally, you squeeze the obsidian beads in your palm, feeling the cold metal's sharpness as clear as its color. At the tips of your fingers, you sense the key elements of the ritual. You reach out and rub the clay traces against the love scenes carved into the walls. The clay accentuates the lines of the symbols with a subtle red glow. The scent of lavender mingles with the damp air of the cave, creating an unforgettable breeze. You touch the obsidian beads to the moldy darkness on the same walls. The beads sparkle like tiny lights, illuminating the dark feathers of the shadows. When your ritual is complete, the silence in the hall envelops you, a call of love left in the heart of the cave. The way back, leaving the shadow of passion behind you, you return to the narrow corridor. The light of your lantern redefines the lines beneath your feet. As the clay stains quiver like an anthill in the lamplight, you hear a hissing sound behind you. You turn around. The obsidian mirror in the hall is now completely dark. Its reliefs seem to have vanished. The repository of secrets has come to an end, but a new door is opening in your inner world. At the end of the corridor, the morning sun begins to shine through again. The first rays envelop the snake relief at the cave entrance like a golden crescent. As you step out of the cave, you stand at the intersection of shadow and light, once again feeling the fine line between night and day, spirit and body, water and earth. Your fingers still carry the scent of lavender, the red of clay, the coldness of obsidian. In that moment, you understand that the traces of this ritual will never fade. Every step, every rhythm, every touch will remain an echo in the heart of the Maya universe. When you step outside and look at the plaza, the shadows gathered in front of Pyramid 2 seem to gaze at you as if you were still wandering in the heart of the ritual. The morning birds have not yet begun to sing. The world is silent, like a creature awaiting its birth. You take a deep breath. You have completed the second part of the ritual. Next comes the third part, climbing to the top of the sacred temples to offer prayers to the birds of the sky, then facing the forgotten oaths of the royal tombs. The only thing limiting your steps is the rapid rise of daylight. Inside you, like a flow of time running backwards, you move forward, leaving behind streets that disappear into the shadows. The second full moon ceremony of the ritual has ended. As the sun looks into the eye of Tikal, you turn your gaze back to your own eyes, ready to lift the veil of the ritual a little further. As the sun's rise reaches its final point on Tikal's stone pyramids, you emerge from the shadows at the cave's exit and return to the center of the plaza. The plaza's stone pavements turn a cool blue under the first rays of the day, every step echoing beneath your feet, reawakening the panels of the ritual. Behind the ancient stone walls, a walking path rises, inviting you to climb the steps. These steps will take you to one of Tikal's highest temples, the Temple of the Reclining Sun. The steps leading to the temple are narrower than the pyramid steps, but they are steeper. Each step is almost shoulder-width apart, with slightly worn edges. As you climb the stairs, the small obsidian flute and ceramic bowl you carry in your backpack make a delicate sound with each step, as if your ritual objects are joining you on this ascent. Your eyes are focused ahead, your breathing steady, but your heartbeat quickens with each step. Every 5 steps, you pause and look back, and the plaza and the forest shadows around it spread out before you like a rolling sea. Upon reaching the 25th step, you encounter the first spiritual sign, a carved symbol of a serpent god, its face covered, on the stone blocks along the staircase. The eye sockets in the relief seem to point to the spot where the ritual turns toward you. When you touch the relief's surface, the cold stone trembles. For a moment, you feel that the serpent god's watchful presence extends here as well. You take the small escape knife you've been carrying with you and whisper to yourself that you're safe. 40 steps later, the stairs lead you to a flat niche. In the niche, there are 2 small stone pools filled with fresh water. On the bottom of the pools, among the algae, there are thin golden lines. According to the Mayan star map, they mark the seasons of the lunar eclipse. You lean over the edge of one of the pools, brush some tiny green algae onto your finger, then take a few drops of water with your lips and wash your face. The cold water feels like a cleansing ritual, freeing you from the stifling humidity of the plaza. The water bowl you leave on the edge of the pool offers a silent invitation, hidden from view. Look at life and death anew. After this niche, the stairs rise again, but the resting area is a little wider, with stylized sun motifs embossed on the walls on all 4 sides. On top of the walls are traces of red, orange, and gold pencil mixtures. Despite the passage of centuries, the earthen paints retain their freshness. The reliefs on the walls are woven into 8 segments depicting the primordial cycles of the Maya calendar: the spring equinox, the summer solstice, the autumn equinox, the winter solstice, and the divine figures associated with each season. As you follow these reliefs, you cannot help but feel the ancient Maya's concept of time coursing through your body. As you continue climbing, you hear a different sound, a faint but sharp echo, like the cry of a mother from afar. Looking up and scanning the area, you notice a small niche behind the stone arches at the top of the stairs. In the obsidian mirror inside the niche, you first see your own reflection, then the figure of a woman standing behind you, her long black hair flowing like water, gazing tenderly at the small child standing before her. The child's eyes are closed and wrapped in a blanket, facing you as if in a childhood projection of a prayer or lament ritual. As you look into the mirror, a feeling of compassion creeps into you, along with the echoing fear. Passing through the niche and climbing a few more steps, you finally reach the top of the pyramid. The top is a wide platform extending in all directions. There are no stone railings at the edges, only a flat surface covered with clumps of green moss. You pull your feet toward the center of the platform and sit down. In your right hand is an obsidian flute. In your left, a ceramic bowl. Your eyes are focused on the clouds swirling above the 360-degree sea of forest, and your soul responds to a call to watch the stars. You bring your hand to the flute and blow the first note with your lips. A thin, sharp melody cuts through the air. Then the second note, the third. The flute's rhythm draws new life into the silence here. Each breath is in sync with the flute. The rhythm of your heart plays the sounds of a funeral ritual in the background. You gently lift your knees and stand up. As you play the flute close to your ear, you raise your hands toward the sky. This is a melody dedicated to the sun and the stars, a mixture of lament and gratitude, declaring that humans belong both to the earth and to the heavens. When the last note of the flute fades away, A small stone staircase descends from the edge of the platform to the second level. There, on the columns on either side, are reliefs carved from a mixture of black obsidian and white kinik, the gates of the shadows. These gates represent the delicate connection between life and death in Mayan belief. You raise the ceramic bowl in your hand, into which fresh water and clay paste have been added like tears. You touch the bowl to a stone pillar in deep silence. The song of water and clay is summoned. Only the sound of the wind answers this call. The wind echoes as if it were the voice of a distant cenote, wandering among the great pyramids. Looking from the edge of the platform, a thin column of steam rises toward the heart of the forest. An ancient cenote is hidden where it descends. The third part of the ritual begins there, under the stars, because the Maya's most sacred water source is a gateway to purification and renewal for living beings and spirits. You touch the flute one last time, savoring the final note ringing in your ears. As you rise from the edge of the platform, a new courage stirs in your heart. The dramatic expanse beneath you, which you have taken refuge in, unites each step with infinity as you prepare for the next aggressive ritual step, the descent into the cenote. The mist seeping through the surrounding tree trunks emphasizes the sacredness of this place. As the stars rise, the ancient celestial wisdom of the Maya dances with you. Taking a deep breath, you step off the platform onto soft, sand-like soil. You place the ceramic bowl in your backpack and hang the flute on your belt. You step forward onto the narrow path that leads into the cool bosom of the forest. As you move away from the shadows of the high temples, each step you take at the summit becomes a part of the deepest secrets of the land. As the last star in the sky fades, the third stage of the ritual, the cleansing of the soul in the cenote, is about to begin. As the vibration of your last step descending from the top of the temple, climbing toward the sky, still echoes through your feet. A walk begins on the deserted sand of the plaza. The sun is now at its peak. Its harsh rays cast scorched shadows between the stone walls. The ceramic bowl, obsidian flute, and clay-covered corn kernels you carry with you tremble as if preparing for a new ritual. As you descend from the high temple platform at the summit, a small path invites you to follow a trail that winds through the forest and disappears into the shadows. The secret passage beyond the shadows was carved into the rock, heralding a network of tunnels leading underground. The path was hidden in the shadows of dense trees, its ground covered with the tracks of small reptiles. A perfect silence reigned, not even the chirping of breeding birds, the rustling of the wind, or your own breath could break the stillness. The clinking of clay pots gave way to a deep sense of anticipation. After continuing for approximately 90 meters, the path led you to a magnificent clearing, the entrance to a tunnel with stone arches and columns. A huge obsidian snake relief cast shadows like gauze from its mouth. This relief was known as the Gate of Apu Itza, a sacred passage that tested the soul of those who entered with water and shadows. Step inside. You touch the tail of the obsidian snake and opened the archway of the tunnel. The flame of your lantern cast faint turquoise glows off the damp walls once more. As you step inside, the sudden chill of the air envelops your lungs. It means you have left the scorching humidity of the plaza behind and descended into the heart of the earth. The slippery stones on the floor are covered in moss, and your feet feel as though they are stepping on a liquid blanket. Each step echoed the first stone seeds scattered with the prayers of the ancient Maya. When you raised the lantern a little higher, you discovered that the reliefs on the walls told new stories, half human, half fish guardians, figures shadowy in the water, goddesses holding bowls in their mouths. The tunnel, after a straight corridor, took a sharp turn downward, leading to a stone niche resembling 5 bulbs. Every small recess in the niche was filled with pools of water that shimmered like jewels in the flickering lantern light. These were the stone pools of an underground spring deep within an untouched forest. The surface of the water was smooth, salty, and emitted a faint bubbling sound reminiscent of hydroculture. You touched the thin mass at the spout with one hand and tasted the water. An underlying iron flavor, perfect coldness, a contrast that would remain fresh in your mind despite the scorching heat of the plaza. Call to the immortal waters. You gently pressed the bowl you were holding against the edge of the pool, as if placing it on an altar. The water collected in the bowl mixed with the grains of sand at the bottom, forming coral-colored veins. The bubbling sound from below eventually merged into a single echo. You bent down to reflect the lantern's light on the water. The trembling reflections of spirits lost for thousands of years rose like mist on the water's surface. Then you poured the water into your palm and raised it as if to touch your forehead. The sacred liquid, the Maya called blood, whispered the secret of resurrection as much beneath the earth as it did above it. Along with the water, the reliefs along the water's edge began to come to life. A figure half bird, half human, posed with its chest thrust forward. Another figure depicted a king's drinking ceremony, a ritual that sanctified the water and nourished nature with it. You took the ceramic bowl and raised it steadily above the damp ground beneath your feet. You flicked water droplets onto the reliefs around you, one by one, to strengthen the bond between the ceremony and the water and shadows. Each droplet echoed like a note rising from the pit. At that moment, a rumbling sound from the other end of the tunnel sent ripples through the pool of water. In that moment, as you felt yourself being pulled by the weight of the earth, all your senses were heightened. The smell of moss you couldn't get enough of, the metallic glint of water droplets, the feather-like trembling of the raised ridges. In that moment, you realized you weren't just part of a ritual, but standing at the entrance to thousands of secret paths within the earth. Whoever manages to escape from here alive, your inner voice said, will carry the secret of all time. Flaming prayers. After removing the ceramic bowl from the water, you are ready to take the final step. At the deepest point of the tunnel, there is a dark altar with a burning wick in a pit. As you walk toward it, you see golden lines hanging toward the end of the corridor. These are beams of moonlight extending to the tunnel ventilation shaft, the only source of light at the bottom of the cave. You free yourself from the slippery rocks on the ground and slowly bend down, placing the bowl in the hollow space at the edge of the pit. When the bowl hits the ground, it sounds like an ancient drum, causing the water to rise and an endless echo to begin in the depths of the pit. Leaning over the edge of the pit and extending your head downward, you feel cold air waves coming from a depth of over 100 meters. A murmur rises from beneath the thin layer between the water and the air, followed by a whisper. The voice says, "Awaken," in an ancient language. As you keep your head level, your eyes adjust to the darkness. You attach the obsidian flute to your belt and hum a small song with a rhythm reminiscent of fire, an ancient lullaby. The song vibrates the water, which responds with bubbles. You feel as if you have stepped into the deepest shadows of the earth. A glimmer of light from deep within appears on the walls instead of the bottom of the pit. Small clusters of crystals refract the moonlight, casting delicate, shimmering reflections. those reflections freeze, as if they were a table drawing a picture of the future beneath them. Like a cosmic map, symbols from the Mayan star calendar are reflected in the lines between the reliefs along the water's edge. The deepest secrets hidden under the title Water, Time, and Shadows are now at your fingertips. When you rise from the ground, there is a tremor, just as there was when you first stepped into the cave. The routine has ended. The sacred water ritual is complete. Yet another door has opened within your inner world. As you pull yourself away from the edge of the sinkhole, you cross the thin line between water and shadow once more. The third main part of the ritual, the cenote's dark invitation, is now complete. All that remains is to return to the plaza and the temples, where a new test awaits you in the fourth part, on the shore of the lake under the sun. With the echo of the last drop hitting the water's surface still ringing in your ears, you lift the ceramic bowl from the edge of the sinkhole and place it in your backpack with trembling hands. The adrenaline inside you turns into a wave of relief as you emerge from the dark invitation of the ritual. You tilt the lantern and look at the steps. Long, pearl-like drops of water are lined up on the damp, moss-covered stones. Each step you take has the same sacredness as the first steps you took on the temple terrace stretching from the plaza to the sky. But now, every stone beneath your feet carries thousands of years of memories mixed with water. As you climb the first step, your knees creak, and the ceramic bowl in your backpack sways slightly. On the second step, you smell the earth again. The damp cave scent evokes a world forgotten beneath the forest. On the third step, traces of the sky's pale blue appear along the edges of the carvings. On this staircase leading to the heart of the earth, the flute, sword, and corn kernels hanging from your shoulders are sacred burdens. On the fourth step, you spot a bright red algae with the corner of your eye. It is as vivid as the clay paints you saw in several stages of the ritual. You rub your fingertips against the edge of the wet stone and gather the algae. Perhaps you are taking notes to use in a future ritual. On the fifth step, the beam of light grows dimmer. Now only the faint glow of the lantern remains. 6, 7, and the roar of the water flowing below grows louder. On the eighth step, you pull out the hem of your t-shirt to roughly wipe your mouth. Even the dust particles suspended in the air seem to dance as if they were alive. At the ninth step, you loosen the strap of your backpack a little and regulate your breathing. At the 10th step, you notice that your eyes have adjusted to the darkness. Now you can make out the tiny stones beneath the pools of water and the delicate vein patterns on the cave walls. The 11th step, the 12th, and finally, on the 13th step, you place your feet on a flat stone platform. The platform is located almost hidden in a corner, at the very edge of the abyss, supported by a slippery stone slab. When the narrow circle of your lantern's light hits the platform, you see fine feather patterns raised on it, the feathered face of the rain god, the eye of a giant crocodile, the imprint of a jaguar's claw. These reliefs are the guardians of the spirits sleeping in the depths of the cave. You are now face to face with them. In the center of the platform is a triangular opening, thin and long like a passageway leading to the bottom of the abyss. Leaning over the concrete stone and looking down is like stepping into a dizzying void. Your toes grip the edge of the platform, and the darkness beneath your shadow looks like a lake of doom. The cold air rising from the opening cools your face while issuing a call. Come, dive. Your knees tremble slightly, but the call is irresistible. A voice inside you says, take a deep breath. You slowly bend down and pull a small glass bottle from your backpack, lavender tincture you collected earlier at the women's market. You rub a drop of lavender on your wrist and inhale. A delicate freshness spreads like an antidote. At the same time, you take out the ceramic bowl beside you, add a few drops of holy water and clay paste, the mixture for the ritual. This potion, a testament to the Ablisse Gulgalurgi Sitrak, acts as a talisman to protect your soul. Taking one last deep breath, you place the ceramic bowl at the edge of the platform. Then you stand directly in front of the opening and place both hands on the ground. You feel the melody of the earth, water, and air coming together. Even your toes are joining this ancient dance. Then you gather all your courage, bend forward, and step quickly off the edge of the platform with both feet. Underwater tunnels. When the cold water wraps around your arms, your eyes suddenly darken. The pressure of the water surrounds your eardrums, and each breath returns to your neck as bubbles. You extend your hands forward and move forward as if searching for the wall. Your hand touches the obsidian flute. With the pressure underwater, the flute's delicate tone becomes a palpable vibration. Deep down, the water becomes a little calmer. You have reached the mouth of a cave-like shelter. You are drawn inside. The cave is filled with crystal grains glistening under the water. When the sun's rays hit the water, they reflect off the broken prism fragments. It's as if the cave has turned into a jeweler's shop. You're sparkling like a rare gem in the heart of an underground river. The mossy reliefs on the walls are as well preserved as an underwater archaeological site. Half human, half fish figures transform into fins adorned with obsidian scales. As you dip your hands into the water and hold them against the reliefs, your heart races as if reviving an old memory. As you descend, the bottom of the cave stretches out into earthen ground. When your feet touch it again, you can make out ancient Mayan cross symbols in the golden-flecked grains of sand. Beneath the sand lies a hollow. Tiny ripples in the water converge at the hollow's edge, forming a whirlpool. The water cascading from the whirlpool splashes back to the surface. This was Apu Itsa's call, the thin line between life and death. You take one final step and lean over the edge of the hollow. You reach into the ceramic bowl and cup the water in your hands. The red clay stains between the algae mix with the water, turning it a deep burgundy ink color. This ink, like the charms that Maya healers inscribe on the skin, serves as a bridge between body and spirit. You lift the bowl and rub it on your forehead. As the water droplets tremble on your skin, you feel a surge of energy. The tiny crystals in the water surround the magical lines on your forehead with golden dust. Rising. Again. When you lift your head out of the water in the cave, your breath fills the air. You climb the stairs to return to the platform. Your hands grip the wet stones, and every muscle beneath your knees tenses. With the first step, water droplets tremble like the sound of a faucet. With the second step, seaweed fragments slide. And with the third step, the blue sky hits the water railings. With the fourth step, every cell in your body comes back to life. On the fifth step, the bare stones of the plaza touch the soles of your feet, and the ritual's most powerful call echoes. Rise. Be reborn. You attach the flute to your belt, place the ceramic bowl in the side pocket of your bag, and inhale the scent of your uniform through the shadow created by the water droplets. The sword you carry on your back brushes lightly against your wrist, as if saying, "Protect." You quicken your steps toward the plaza's earthen floor. The next part of the ritual awaits you on the shore under the sunlight. The cave ritual is over. Now it is time to be cleansed in the earth's life-giving waters. But your spirit still flows there, like a piece of the water in the depths of the tunnels. Internal echoes. The sounds of water inside the earth continue to ring in your ears. Even though you are now walking on the plaza, the echoes of the water tunnels leave a vibration in your heart. You close your eyes and take a deep breath. The rhythm of the silence filling your lungs hums the song of ancient times, the silent memory of the obsidian flute, the scent of sand from the ceramic bowl, and the cool touch of clay traces are all part of this ritual. The next section awaits you at the first of the 4 high temples, the Sun Temple. There, you will confront the golden secrets of moonlight and the forgotten tales of royal tombs. After this cenote ritual, your body and soul will be in a new balance. Now is the time to take a new step on the sacred ground beneath the sun,